right, Hannah. So let's start off talking about your camera. Oh, what a bummer with your camera. So the back of the screen, the back LCD screen stopped working only when you were in manual, which seems so bizarre to me that I think it might have just been clicked off. But I'm curious because you said in that last image that it's so dark because you didn't have access to your LCD screen. But as you're looking through your viewfinder, you should be able to see metering at the very bottom, which would allow you still to get the correct exposure even if your LCD screen isn't working. So I want to make sure you know about that and you're able to access that, because that could be a workaround during this time when you're trying to figure out what's going on with that camera. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is your artist statement. So you, in your artist statement, let's go back to it, talk about the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm happy that you're doing this with your images, because I think a lot of students are kind of afraid to use their imagery for political purposes. And it is a political movement, right? Because that's where we're going to get a shift in power, is if we can do it politically. And I think it's really important to use your imagery to try to make change in the world. So I'm thrilled that you're taking on a big concept like this, a big project like this, and using your voice through your photography. So students are often very timid to do that, or they think that your teachers are going to get offended. And hopefully none of your teachers should get offended by that. That shouldn't be, even if we disagreed with what you were saying, that shouldn't be something that is a problem. So I'm happy to see that you're using your photography for good, and that you're finding a voice that means that not only you're trying to make change with your images, but you're learning to communicate with your images, which is key. That's key to what we're doing in this class. In this program, the program is really based on concept. All right, so let's look at these technically. So here, images, looking at your ISO. So 200, and then we jumped up to 3200, 100, 200, 100, 400, 6400. So let's look at these two that are a little bit higher. So here we're just really underexposed. You can barely see that your husband's even part of this picture, right? So it's a really dark image because of everything that's around him is very dark. So possibly just bringing the lights closer to him, even those little tiny kind of Christmas lights that are hanging down. If those were closer to his face, we might get more light on him. So bringing in more light, as well as having a longer shutter speed here. I understand that image was more about the camera not working for you. Here, this seems like it's more underexposed, but more intentionally. So the background is in focus and has a good exposure. And for him, we're not able to see that much detail. The detail of the light coming across his shoulders is really beautiful. And I'd love to see that on his face. So just turning his face a little bit so that we could get that highlight on the side of his face so we could really see that profile. I love that you got some light in his eyes, though. That really brings our attention right into his eyes. All right, let's look at the shutter speeds and apertures, 400. All right, so these are all pretty fast, no issue with camera shake. In your apertures, you're moving it around from 5.6, 4 to 10, so you're moving all the way through that. All right, let's talk about the color in your images. So your images, when we're looking at a series, it's nice if we can kind of have some theme that we move through and see in all of them, beyond just the idea that your husband's in all of these, that basketball's in a number of them. But seeing a color repeated throughout them can also bring the series together. So you have that with the flag, the red of the lines of the flag, the red in his pants, the flag, 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 red on his pants and on the basketball hoop. And I'm guessing this heart would have even had that red in it if we could see that with the exposure. So it's not like a necessary part of a series, but it is nice when there's something visual that can kind of pull us through all of the images. The use of the shadow in the second and fifth image is working really well. So here, having him stand with just the flag, and we don't know what we're looking at, right? We don't know anything about him. We don't know that he's black at this point. And you have him standing there, and it's just his shadow holding up that power fist. And I think there is this kind of, I don't know, like weird power struggle with the American flag right now and what it stands for. So including it with this Black Lives Matter project brings a lot of power, and I think that that's really beautiful. So this is a great way to start, and then we see your husband, and then you change your point of view. So here we're looking at him from far away. Here we're really close to him. Here you have a worm's eye view looking up at him. Then he's removed completely, and we're just looking at the flag, and it's on this barn style. I don't know if it's a barn or if it's a home, but it's on what looks like a barn. And then you kind of, from there, though we could see at this point, this I stand with you, but it's not until we get here that we know for sure what we're looking at and that this is about the Black Lives Matter movement. So this was a good image to put in there so that you're kind of redirecting our attention and bringing us back to the theme that you're trying to show through all of this. And then you have your husband again here, lower in the image, the flag's kind of taking over the image, and then this I stand with you starts to be more obvious and make more sense in the image. And then kind of taking a knee with the basketball hoop behind him, and then the heart. So in general, I think this is a great series. If you were to build this out as a series, I would include more people, right? This isn't just about your husband, obviously, but we're in a pandemic, so you don't want to be exposed to all these different people. But building this out and showing more people and showing people coming together on this idea of Black Lives Matter, I think could be really important. So let's just look at that contact sheet really quick before I finish up here. Okay, so these are pretty much all of the images that we saw. There's just little changes to it, but no new image for me to say, oh, this would have been a great one to include. Okay, everything looks good. Your exposure looks good. Your focus looks good. Obviously, your exposure here and here could be improved a little bit, or the lighting just here. But overall, great job with this series, and I'm glad you're using your photography to say something.